Good afternoon and welcome to the Midday News. Here's what we have in the bulletin. Opposition adamant that vaccination should not be mandatory. Town Road reopening delayed. And later in sports, Reggae Boys secure draw in World Cup qualifier. I'm Giovanni Dennis and here are the details. The coronavirus has claimed 19 more lives in Jamaica, pushing the death toll to 1,685. The deaths were recorded between August 11 and September 7. 9 of the deaths were recorded in Manchester, 2 in St. Elizabeth, Westmoreland, St. Catherine and the corporate area. St. James and Trelawney had 1 death each. In the meantime, 740 people were admitted with the respiratory virus on Wednesday, down from the 786 on Tuesday. 52 are critically ill, while 124 are severely ill. 22,615 active cases of the virus are on the island. The country also recorded 511 new cases from 1,702 tests. The total case count is 74,007. The positivity rate is now 32.5%. Opposition leader Mark Golding is this afternoon insisting that mandatory COVID-19 vaccination is not the way to go at this time. There have been calls for vaccine mandates for some workers in sectors like healthcare. Cody and Barrett reports.
Opposition leader Mark Golding says somber and terrifying days are ahead if the raging third wave of the coronavirus is not brought under control. Jamaica has been seeing a rapid surge in COVID-19 cases, with a daily positivity rate now averaging 40%. There have been calls in some quarters for mandatory vaccination, but the opposition leader insists that's not the way to go.
I don't think that is the right approach at this time. I don't think in the current circumstances that is how we should approach this matter. If things change, situation changes, we can review our position. I've already said that from a constitutional perspective, I think it may be possible to do it. But I don't think it's the right approach at this time. Prime
Minister Andrew Holness recently began a road tour to ramp up the government's strategy to get more Jamaicans inoculated. But opposition spokesman on health, Dr. Maurice Guy, had argued that the Prime Minister's plan to go into communities to promote COVID-19 vaccination will not achieve the desired result. Dr. Guy argued that Mr. Holness should leave that to major social influencers, such as members of the clergy, sports personalities, and entertainers. But now Mr. Golding says he's not against the tour by the Prime Minister.
If it is a calm, understated, but clear message to the people that the government and the opposition are behind vaccination and everybody needs to come on board, I don't have an objection to that. I have been doing that myself.
Meanwhile, in a letter to the Prime Minister, Mr. Golding called for a summit in a bid to identify workable responses to the COVID fight. The proposal was declined. Mr. Golding is once again making an appeal.
So I'm using this opportunity, Sanjay, again this morning to call on the Prime Minister to convene the National Disaster Risk Management Council so that we can look at where we are in the fight against COVID-19 and what needs to be done to get us to a better place.
He was speaking on the morning agenda on Power 106. Cody and Barrett, TVJ News.
The reopening of the Gordontown Road in St. Andrew has been delayed once again. It was scheduled to be reopened this week, but an update from the Member of Parliament on Wednesday advised otherwise. Herman Green reports.
It's been 10 months since torrential rains caused a major breakaway of the Gordontown Main Road in St. Andrew. The road was closed, forcing residents of Mavis Bank and surrounding communities to an alternative route many miles longer. So residents were elated when Member of Parliament Juliet Holness gave this update earlier this week.
And by Friday of this very week, all of the major works will be totally complete. If there are persons still in the area working, it will be minor works, just tidying up of the area in preparation to exit.
However, on Wednesday, this tweet from the MP dashed those hopes. A new reopening date was not given. Land slippages and improper drainage of stormwaters from the road were blamed for the destruction last year. During her tour of the roadway earlier this week, Mrs. Holness suggested that the National Works Agency was closely monitoring the project, and so those issues would be a thing of the past.
Because it gave them an opportunity to see exactly the volume of rainfall, how much is now coming off the hill, far more than we ever had in time gone by. And they have added to the design a major drain have changed the slope of the road, have increased the culverts required to take water from the road to the river. So I'm confident that the work they have put in and the contractor will hold up.
The MP acknowledges that the Gordontown Road is not the only road in the constituency that fails repeatedly with heavy rains. She listed several others, promising attention in due time.
Craig Hill, Cooperage, Violet's Bank, many of the areas going into the Mavis Bank town that will need some restorative work done. And I have made my advocacy to NAA. I want to remind Jamaicans, remind my constituents that resources are in fact limited and we have to take the priorities. So we are taking priority after priority.
Herman Green, TVJ News.
Residents of Alley in Clarendon are fuming over poor road conditions in their community. As you'll hear in this report from O'Shane Masters, the residents blocked the roads, demanding action from their political representatives and the National Works Agency.
Downed trees and angry protesters. Scenes in Alley Clarendon on Wednesday. The state of the road has been a long-standing issue, but things have worsened and the residents say they've had enough.
We have an MP and we don't see him.
The bridge along the border of southwest and southeast Clarendon links communities like Racecourse, Milk River, among others, and serves hundreds. But due to a breakaway caused by flooding from the passage of Tropical Storm Ida, the bridge is now being used for single-lane traffic.
That road right now is a disaster, you know.
Member of Parliament for Southwest Clarendon, Lothan Cousins, visited the area.
And I believe that it is full time now that the National Works Agency provide us with a long-term solution for this bridge. We can't continue to spend taxpayers' money over and over again every year to fix a section that is washed out. It's a waste of time, it's a waste of money.
Member of Parliament for Southeast Clarendon, Pernell Charles Jr., is also concerned.
The area is one which is unsafe because of the state. I understand the frustration of the people. I have to drive on it as well. But I also have to reflect on the reality of our circumstances. There's a process that has to be carried out. And so as a representative, rather than push the people to be agitated, I'm pushing the process to be advanced. And I will continue to do so.
In the meantime, communications manager at the NAA, Stephen Shaw, says the agency is currently putting together a comprehensive report to the Ministry of Economic Growth and Job Creation.
In the interim, our intention is to do some work to make the corridor more trafficable or certainly safer for persons to use, recognizing that one section of a part of the slab was dislodged during the passage of the storm. This activity we expect will commence in a matter of days.
And it's now time for a break, but please stay with us. We'll have much more when you return. Welcome back. We're continuing the news. Better protection against Prairie thieves. It's one of the benefits coming out of the Agriculture Minister's island-wide tour of flood-ravaged farms in the wake of tropical storms Grace and Ida. Javon Keys reports.
Fields of tomatoes, melons and cantaloupes gone to waste in Manchester and St. Elizabeth after days of rainfall from tropical storms Grace and then Ida a week later. Agriculture Minister Floyd Green has been speaking with affected farmers.
Me personally lost beetroot and carrot and the water come through the yam garden.
Roughly about £50,000 a melon. And you're looking at over, well, based on the price, now you're looking at about $4 million.
The leaf them burn off and then we have some spot on the fruits, a lot of spots. So you know that you can't get them sell like that. We're not having the problem with the melon. It's only that the leaf burn off before it starts to bear. Because of the breeze flag it out, so that's what happened. So we just call the melon a loss as well.
Everton Honest says it's a combined loss of over $500,000, but farmers have already started to replant, while the minister gives advice to others whose lands have shifted during the flooding.
I'm going to come here next week, and the few will survive. I'm going to put it up because we're going to need the food. I'm going to put it up and start on that section over, from over there, go back up to the PLC, go around. So They come in here to plant sweet yam and ginger. Because I'm going to move the sweet yam and ginger.
Now, amidst the damage and loss, a silver lining is that farmers are now showing interest in setting up solar lights as one way of deterring thieves who continue to prey on their crops. Agriculture Minister Floyd Green says there are now 7 Prairie larceny units dedicated to tackling the long-standing issue.
One of the critical parts of our Prairie larceny unit is to engage farmers to do security audits of their farms. So what our unit has been doing a lot of is going around, talking to farmers, looking at their farms and advising them what can be done to help the farms be more safe. Things like fencing and clearly some heightened technology usage in terms of CCTV cameras for the farmers that they can afford, motion detectors that are connected to phones.
Javon Keys, TVJ News.
And for the latest in the world of finance, here's Cody and Barrett with the Business Minute.
In business news, Scotia Group Jamaica earned $7.28 billion profit for the 9-month period which ended July 31. The company saw a 31% increase over the $5.56 billion reported during the same period last year. The improvement occurred despite a marginal decline in revenues. Total revenues amounted to $31.7 billion and reflected a reduction of $350 million, or 1.1% over the last year. Scotia says revenues continue to be heavily impacted by the COVID-19 pandemic, with a continued reduction in interest rates offered in the market and lower transaction volumes. This contributed to a decline in the group's net interest income, lower net fee and commissions and insurance revenues. And in business internationally, volatility in Bitcoin eased on Wednesday, a day after El Salvador became the first country to adopt the crypto asset as legal tender. The cryptocurrency suffered its heaviest losses in 2.5 months on Tuesday, when it ended the day down 11.1%, its largest percentage drop since June 2. At one point on Tuesday, the digital currency fell as much as 18.6%, wiping out more than $180 billion in market value. And that's it for the business.
Time now for the top regional and international stories. Here's O'Shane Masters.
In the region, the Guyana government has condemned the decision by teachers to embark on a 3-day strike, describing the action as irresponsible and not reflective of the realities of the present state of the coronavirus COVID-19 pandemic, nor the needs of the nation's children. The Guyana Teachers Union, GTU, called out the teachers on the second day of the new school term over the government's vaccination policy and the unpreparedness of many schools to return to face-to-face learning. Further afield, U.S. President Joe Biden is expected to sign an executive order today requiring that all federal workers be vaccinated against COVID-19, with no option of being regularly tested to opt out of the requirement. He will also sign an executive order directing the same standard be extended to employees of contractors who do business with the federal government. The White House has said the federal government should act as a model for other businesses in their own vaccine mandates and has praised large companies that require employees to be vaccinated. And that's it for the top regional and international stories.
And we now head to a quick break. When we come back, we'll have your Midday Sports Report. And welcome back. It's now time for your Midday Sports. The Reggae Boys avoided defeat to Costa Rica in Costa Rica for the first time in a World Cup qualifier as they picked up their first point of the campaign on Wednesday. Simon Preston reports.
It was a simple scenario for Costa Rica and Jamaica. Both teams needed points as they both sat 7th and 8th in the table coming into this fixture. Costa Rica hadn't scored as yet in the final round, while Jamaica were yet to register a point. And it was Los Ticos that got off to the perfect start as midfielder Jimmy Marin gave the 3,000 home fans something to shout about in the 3rd minute with a header in the 6-yard box. Jamaica started the second half the way Costa Rica started the first, with a purpose, and the Reggae Boys got their reward in the 47th minute through Shamar Nicholson. The 24-year-old was netting his 10th international goal for Jamaica and his 2nd in the qualifiers. It was also the first time Jamaica were scoring against Costa Rica in a World Cup qualifier in 20 years. Nicholson had 2 further opportunities, but one effort went wide while the other produced a save out of Keylor Navas. Javan East plays his club football in Costa Rica and knows this stadium well, but scuffed his effort and Jamaica had to settle for a point in Costa Rica. It was a point gained, but for Nicholson, he looked at it as 2 points dropped.
I'm disappointed with my game overall, and I think I could do much better, but I think it's already behind, and we get a point, which is maybe in the long run can help us, and I think it's important now we focus on the next games. We were the best team on the pitch, we should have taken advantage of it.
The Jamaicans will next face the Americans on October 7 in Texas, Canada at home on October 10, and Honduras away in San Pedro Sula on October 13.
Meanwhile, North American sides Canada and the United States recorded victories in the octagon of CONCACAF World Cup qualifying on Wednesday. Canada blanked El Salvador 3-0 in Toronto thanks to goals from Atiba Hutchinson, Jonathan David and Tajon Buchanan. Hutchinson and Buchanan were both born to Jamaican parents, while David is of Haitian heritage. Over in San Pedro Sula, the United States thumped Honduras in a come-from-behind 4-1 victory. In the other game in the group, Mexico battled Panama to a 1-1 draw in Panama City. And that's it for your Midday Sports Report and indeed your Midday News Package. I'm Giovanni Dennis. Join us at 7 for Primetime News. On behalf of the news, sports and production teams, have a good afternoon.